you open, okay, share. Okay, so my PyCharm is open, right? So if you're opening it for the first time, you open your PyCharm, right? Go to your search bar and search for PyCharm, or in your apps menu, you're going to see your apps. You're going to see all your apps. Go to P, and we're going to see PyCharm there. You click on PyCharm. You click on PyCharm, it will open like this. If you're opening it for the first time, a window showing new program or new project would open for you. So if your PyCharm is open, then you should go to File. In File, you're going to see New Project. New Project. New Project, right? So in New Project, you click on New Project. Click on New Project. Now, a pop-up window would come out to show you the location of your project. So in my case, my project is stored in my C drive, users, and PyCharm project, and then Python project 1. So this is a new project I'm creating. Now, the project is going to be stored in a virtual environment. So by default, Python stores it in the virtual env. Now, I don't need to do any other thing. All I just need to do is to specify the name. I can change the name of the project, but I don't want that. So I'll just leave it as Python project 1. Then I'll create. So when I create, it will ask me if I should create on this window. So I need to create it on this window. All right. So now a new project has been created. Right. Okay. So a new project, we can see my screen, right? Can we see my screen so that I'll know where I'm following
Yeah,
along?
go ahead, you can see.
Okay. All right. So a new project is created. So it's creating a virtual environment, right? So sometimes it takes time, right? So when it's done creating, um, okay, let's just give it a little time. It's taking time. Okay, while I'm waiting for it to create virtual environment, I'm going to open my VS Code too. For those of us using VS Code, so I'll go to my Visual Studio Code, which I'm assuming you've already downloaded. You should download it from the official website. I sent it on the group chat. You're going to sit here and you're going to click open. So when you open your Visual Studio Code, it opens. Right. Yeah. So it opens like this. I'm going to create a new window so that we are starting from scratch. All right. Okay. So when you create a new window, this opens your created with this window. All right. So now here, what you have to do is to create a new file or create a new folder. So let's say I want to write my first Python code. I'm going to create a new file. Right. So when I create a new file, it's going to tell me what kind of file I want to create. So I can decide to specify the file type. So if I type Python, it's going to say, oh, Python file. And then it will recognize that it's the Python file. Right. So, a new tab will be opened that shows me that I want to start writing my code. So I'm going to save first. I'll save it by typing Control S on my keyboard, and I'm going to save it on desktop. So you can choose your preferred storage location. So I'm choosing desktop in my case. So I'll call it say class 5. These are class 5 dot py. So remember our extension has to be dot py. Then I'll save. Now when I save, automatically my VS Code recognizes that extension. So let's check if our PyCharm, okay, if our PyCharm is done creating the virtual environment. Okay, it's almost done. All right. Okay, so let's okay, so you can save it as Python. So it recognizes any command, right? So we have class 5.py. Now this is for Visual Studio Code. Now the next thing you have to do is to open your terminal in this menu bar. Come to this point, you're going to see terminal. Click on new terminal. Now in new terminal, a command prompt like window is supposed to show at the bottom of your ID or editor. By default, it shows you the PowerShell window. But we don't want that. I don't really advise people to use PowerShell. So I prefer use command prompt or some other bash terminal. So I'll come to this side, the right hand side of my editor. You're going to see this drop down icon here, and I'm going to select command prompt. So good. So now command prompt is selected. So I'm going to navigate the to the folder where I am. So I'm at desktop. That's where I saved my program file. So I'm going to say cd to desktop. CD means is a command that helps you to mount on a particular folder location in your drive. So I will say CD desktop and click enter. So I'm now on my desktop. So each time I run a command for class 5.py, it executes. Now that's for VS Code. We're going to come back to writing programs with this. So let's check our PyCharm to see if it's open. So our PyCharm has opened, right? So when you open your PyCharm, you're going to be welcome with this screen that has an already written function here, but we don't want that. So we want to create our own Python program. So you're going to write on this left hand side here where you have Python project on. We're going to right click here and you're going to click new. In new, you're going to click file. So new file. So I'm going to click on new file. So it's going to prompt me to enter the file name. So I want it to be class 5 to class 5. So that's the file name. And I'll hit enter. So I should have remember to always use your remember to always use the extension, right? So I'm going to create a new file. Sorry, I'm going to create a new file. Say, okay, sorry. Now, the mistake we made was we should have specified the kind of file. So we're going to click on Python file. So Python file, I'm going to choose the name. Let's call it class 5. So good. So yeah, so we have class 5.py. So now we have our two IDs open, the VS Code ID open and the PyCharm ID open for both that will be running both programs. Then for those of us using Sublime Text, which I'm also assuming that you've okay, let's continue. So for those, I'm assuming you've already downloaded the Sublime Text. So I'm going to go to my app menu and go to all, and I'll go to S where I've downloaded it Sublime Text. Sublime Text, good. So it's supposed to open in a minute. Okay, good. So our Sublime Text is open. So right, so when you open Sublime Text, you're going to be welcomed with a window like this that has a a sidebar with your folder structure, your menu bar, and all that title bar. So when you open Sublime Text, you're going to go to File in this menu bar. Click on File. You're going to click on New File, and then a new tab will be open. If there's no tab existing, a tab does open for you. So when you open a new tab, all you have to do is to save that tab. So it's saved as a file. So I'm going to do Control S on my keyboard. Then it requests that I save. So I want to save it to my desktop. Or in this case, I'll save it in my documents. Documents, right? So yeah, my document, I'm going to call it class 5 too. Class 5.py. Remember to always add the extension .py so it will recognize that it's a Python file. I'm going to save it. So notice that, okay, now we have saved it. So we have both the VS Code open, we have the PyCharm open, and we have the Sublime open. Now, the difference between the three is that both the VS Code and the PyCharm have integrated terminals in them, but the Sublime Text does not. So in order to run our program with Sublime Text, we are going to use an actual command line, an actual terminal. So I'm going to go to my Windows tab and search CMD. So when I search for CMD, you're going to see a program called Command Prompt. So I'm going to open my Command Prompt. So when the Command Prompt opens, yeah, by default, I'm in my user drive, my C drive. But my program that I want to run in my Sublime Text was, I saved it in documents folder. So I'm going to CD. Remember, this command, CD command is a command you're going to use to mount on the particular folder you want. So I'm going to CD to documents, right? And hit enter. So I'm in my documents folder. Now we can proceed. So now that being said, we're going to start with the first thing we have on our agenda for today. So like I said, we're going to be starting with the conditional statement, the if statement, rather the if and the else statement. So like I said, the if statement is a statement that helps you specify a condition for your program to make a decision, right? So for your program to print a statement on the screen, or for your program to perform an action on your machine or your computer, it has to make a decision. So that's where if statement comes. Now in Python, we have three conditional statements: the if statement, the elif, and the else statement. So the if statement would perform an action if a condition is met. The elif is when you want to perform multiple ifs in your program. So you have multiple conditions that you want to meet. That's when you use the elif. Then the else statement negates the if statement. So everything that the if statement will do, the else will do it. It will just catch all the errors of the if, then outputs the result in the else. So we're going to start with a bit of a demonstration for the if statement. So like now we're going to start with a program that tells us if a particular country, the capital, if it's correct or not. So let's say you have your child at home and you want to write a program that helps to teach that child, say, capitals of country. So let's use France. No, let's use Nigeria, for example. Now, the capital of Nigeria is Abuja. So you will already know that. But you want your program to check if your child gets it or not. So, right. So that's where a condition comes in. You want to know that, you want to check if this child chooses Abuja as the capital of Nigeria, the program should tell the child if it's correct or not. So that's what we want to do. But now the first thing is we're going to use a function that allows the child to input a data in it. So I'm going to start with the input statement. So I'm going to say input. No, we'll create our variable rather. So let's say our variable is country, right, equals imputes. We're going to tell the child to enter enter the capital of Nigeria, right? Okay, good. That's what we want to tell the child, to enter the capital of Nigeria. So now the next thing we're going to do is to create an if statement. Now we're going to say if um now that capital is let's say Abuja, right? So we're going to say if this country, this variable that we've created. Okay. Please mute your microphone. If you're unmuted, please mute your microphone. Okay, thank you for helping us. All right, I was okay. So I'm saying that. So I saying if country is say equal to say Abuja, right? Then we should tell our program to tell the child that is correct, right? Then we're not saying that else. So if the child gives us an input other than Abuja, then we tell our program to tell the child that the child is wrong. Let's say you are wrong. Wrong. It's Abuja, right? So that's what we want our program to do. All right. So good. So now that we have this, we're going to run it and see what happens. Good. So I'm going to, in order to run it from Sublime, if I'm using Sublime Text, in order to run it from Sublime, if I'm using Sublime Text, I'm going to go to my terminal. Now my command prompt window here, this one, if you can see it, I'm at document. So I know that I've saved it as um, class 5.py. So I'm going to come here and do Python class 5.py. So what it does is this. It will automatically recognize that I'm trying to run. So my terminal recognizes I'm trying to run a Python program, right? And the program name is class 5. Because of the extension, it recognizes that, oh, it's a Python program. So that's how I run Sublime Text. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that for VS Code and PyCharm. So let's run this code. If I hit enter, it tells that enter the capital of Nigeria, right? So now let's assume I'm the child and then I do Abuja, right? It tells me correct. Now let's run this code again. And it says enter the capital of Nigeria. And then I say Accra. It tells me you are wrong, it's Abuja. So that's how conditional statement works. Instead of you telling your child what is wrong or right, you write a program for that child and he imputes the answer and it tells him or her if it's wrong or right. Now, this is how you run your console program in Sublime Text. So I'm going to show us how we run it in Visual Studio Code for those of us using Visual Studio Code. Now in Visual Studio Code, I'm going to write the same program, or perhaps I'll try something else. So let's say we want to do another if statement. Now let's use numbers this time around. So I want to perform a calculation. I want to check if it's correct or not. So I'm going to request my child or my friend to input a number, and I want to check if that number is correct or not, or if it's even. Okay, let's use even an odd number, right? So I'm going to say All right, let's say number, right, equal to, sorry, um so I needed to put an integer, right? Integer input. Let me try to zoom. I can't really zoom with I can't really zoom now with my VS Code, but I hope you can see it. So input, and then I'm going to tell you to enter a number, right? Good. Now, I'm not saying that if that number that the person is entering, um, now if that number divided by 2 is equal to 0, right? Sorry, is equal to 0, right? You should print um this number, sorry, this number is even number, right? Now we've done that. So we're not saying that else. So every other number that does not fit that condition, it will tell us that it should print this number is odd number, right? So this is what we've written in our VS Code. Now I want to run in my VS Code. Okay, I want to run this in my VS Code now. I'll come to the bottom side of this editor, and you're going to see my location. Now, remember I saved my program as class5.py in my desktop folder. So I'm going to say class Python rather, class5.py. Now, when I hit enter, it shows me enter a number. So let's say I want to enter 4. If I hit 4, it tells me this number is even number. The reason is because that number which I've entered, that variable 4, divided by, if 4 divides 2 without a remainder, and that remainder is equal to 0, it's an even number. Any number that divides 2 and there's a remainder, it's not, that 2 divides rather, and there's a remainder, it's not an even number. So if I run this code again, they say enter a number, and then I enter something like 9, they say the number is an odd number. So this is a bit of a demonstration of how conditional statement works, right? So because 9, when if divided by 2, returns a remainder of 1. Return the remainder of 1, it's an even number. Now I'm going to do the last demonstration in PyCharm using our if statement. So I'll use the example I used in Sublime Text, right? So in this case, we don't want to use country. We want to do for class of food. So you want to tell your child that, okay, you want to write a program that helps to tell the child if a food is carbohydrate or protein, or I mean, as the case may be. Good. So let's create a variable called food, right? And then we're telling the child to enter a variable, to enter the value, right? So we're going to tell that child, say enter a food, right? And we're going to say if that input statement, that thing that the child enter, which is the variable that we've created, food, is equals to, let's say for example, let's use rice rather, a string rice. Okay, remember to always end with a colon. Then it should tell the child that this is a carbohydrate, right? Good. Okay. Then else you tell the child that this is, oh, sorry, this is not an energy keeping food. Good. Okay, so now we've done this, we want to run this now. Okay, good. So now we've written this program. I want to run it in PyCharm. So what you're going to do, you can do it two ways. Now, by default, you're going to see some um some menu bar below here. You're going to see version control to do problems, terminal, Python packages, Python console, and services. But we want to go to terminal because it's a console program we're writing. So you click on terminal, your terminal will pop up. Now that by default, it shows you the PowerShell. And like I said, I don't advise people to use PowerShell. So you're going to see this drop down menu here, this drop down icon rather. Click on the drop down, you're going to see something called command prompt. Always choose the command prompt. It's a bit flexible. Remember, our project is already stored in a virtual environment in C drive, in Python project 1. And our project's name is class 5.py. So I'm going to do Python class 5.py. And when I hit enter, okay, sorry, there's a bit of issue here, sorry. Let's see. Right.
Is it not supposed to be double equal to?
Yeah, that's we're using an assignment statement. Yeah, so that's the issue. Good. So when I run this code, we should have to tell us to enter a class of food. And let's say the child enters something that is not rice. Let's say the child enters say meat. Tells him that this is not an energy giving food. Now if we run this code again and enters something called like rice, then it tells this is a carbohydrate. So now this is how you can demonstrate for any of the IDEs or editors. So moving forward, I'm going to be using one. I might just stick to using the VS Code. So whether you're using the Sublime Text or you're using the PyCharm, it doesn't matter. It's the same code you write. It's just maybe a bit of different approach to how you run the code. So now moving forward, that's basically what if statement is. Now, if you're going to be running multiple checks, so I want to do, let's say, I want to say do something else. Now, let's say I want to add another condition. Let's say I want to print a let's try something. Okay, let's say I want to do such that if a number divides I want to add if a number divides 2. Okay, yes, I'm thinking of something we can just add. Okay, good. Now I want to add another condition that if the number we enter is beyond 50, then it should tell us that this number is large. Good. Now that's where elif comes in. So I said we have the if, the elif, and the else statement. So the if is when a condition is met. The elif, use the elif if you have multiple conditions. If you want to set more than 2 conditions, you use the elif. Then the else negates the other conditions, right? So now I want to check. I want to also in this program, I want to check if my program, the number that the person enters is more than 20. Let's use 20. So instead of writing if again, I'm going to say elif, right? Number is greater than or greater than 20, right? Sorry. I'm going to tell my program to tell the person that this number is too large. Good. Now that's what I want to do. So if I run this code again, now remember to always save your code, please. Sorry about that. If you make an edit, remember to always hit Ctrl S. So I've saved my program and then I've run it in my terminal. Now in my terminal, they are requesting me enter a number, right? So enter a number. Now I've entered the number. Let's say I've entered 10. Good. Now it says it's an even number, right? Now it's looking at the first condition. So it's step by step. Now it met the first condition and it gave the result, right? So now I've entered, let me enter something like 30. Now it tells you that it's an even number because The moment it runs, because this program runs line by line, so it looks at the first condition. Did it meet that condition? It says yes, it met the first condition. So your program stops, right? Now, imagine me using, say, 31. It tells me that this number is too large. So it checks the first condition. Oh, it's not even number. It goes to the next condition, and it met that condition. It sees that, oh, this number is more than 20. It breaks the program there. Now imagine we have a small number that is not an even number, and let's see what we're going to get. Good. Now enter a number. I enter 5. It tells me that this number is an odd number. So it checks the first one. Oh, this number is an even number. It's not an even number. It enters the next condition. Oh, this number is less than 20. It doesn't break. It enters the next condition. Else, then the number is an odd number. So that's basically how um, conditional statement works. Now, this most times we ask ourselves, why do we learn all these little things, right? It's important because by the time you start doing, like I said, Python is applying a lot of things in web development, in machine learning. In fact, it's pioneering artificial intelligence. So you have like a large amount of data, a large amount of data that you want to work with or you want to run manipulations on. You're not going to be doing it one after the other. So it's the understanding of conditional statements, how to work with lists, how to work with arrays, how to work with um, functions. That's how you actually solve these problems. So what we're trying to do here is to kind of give you a very good understanding of Python, because without this understanding, when we start doing things like machine learning, AI, maybe building back end web applications, it will be very difficult. So that's it about conditional statement. Now the next thing we want to look at is the loop. The loop. So in Python, we have two types of loop. We have the for loop and the while loop. So I'm going to explain it a bit. Now, the for loop is, in fact, generally looping is kind of like when you're iterating over something. Right. Okay, let me just give us this opportunity. Can anybody just tell me what the way they understand the word loop, what they understand?
I
If you
think loop
understand,
has something to do with
Like
continuous iteration.
okay, yeah, that's good. All right. Somebody raise the hand. If you have an answer, please.
it's like a timer, to make sure that maybe you want to count down, using counting down, I know it's mostly using counting down.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, yeah. Thank you. That's very
Also,
good. Thank you very much.
when the conditions are continuous,
Yes, yes, exactly. We all got it correctly. That's basically what loop is. You're trying to iterate over something, go over something over and over again, continuously look at something. So now it's important because let me use a real life analogy. So let's assume
Sorry,
you've mastered Python. Yes.
please, before we go on, I have a question.
All right.
Uh, for that your even number example,
Yes.
where you use the int,
Yeah.
why do you need to give it an integer data type? And
Okay.
if we didn't give it, wouldn't it work?
Okay. All right. Thank you very much for that question. So when I talked about data types, I talked about strings, integers, floats, a lot of other data type, list and all that. So now the difference between integer and string is that strings are text. They cannot be formatted. Integers are things that can be formatted by an operator. By default, anything stored in a variable, in an input variable, becomes a character, like a text by default, right? So in an input function rather becomes a string by default. So, but now remember that we want to perform an operation in our line 2 of our code. We're performing a mathematical operation that divides the number that uses 2 to divide the number. In our line 4, we're performing a mathematical operation that checks if the number is greater than 20. So these are mathematical operations. So in mathematics, we don't work with letters, we work with numbers. And for you to work with numbers, your program should recognize that it's a number. So if I remove this int, this integer function here, all right, everything entering the input becomes a letter. Like 2 becomes 2 as in character. It's not 2 as a number. So it cannot be formatted. The mathematical operation would not happen. I don't know if you understand what I just explained.
Yes, I understand now.
Okay, thank you very much. Right. So I was talking about loops. So you have, let's say you've mastered Python and you've moved into things like machine learning, and you're working in a company and they want you to train a machine learning model to perform something like say object detection or OCR recognition or character recognition, and they've given you like data set consisting of like 20 million characters, and you have to, train that data set or train a model using that data set, right? So it's something million characters. You can't do it one after the other, right? So let's say you have a column that has all the characters of people that wrote WAEC in 2020. You want to train a model that helps to recognize characters from that year. Now, let's say that row, that column in that data set consists of like 100,000 characters. You won't pick it one after the other. No, no, no. You're going to write a program for it, a function, or anything, maybe whatever it is you want to do, and then loop through that particular data set. That's where looping comes in. That's why it's important to know what looping means. So you have to write a program. For that program to execute on those plenty characters, it has to loop through it. So that's kind of like an idea of where looping can be applied. So I don't want to talk too much about it. I just want to demonstrate. So at least if you can do looping and understand the concept of looping for today, then when next we come, we look at functions, right? So now let me demonstrate a bit of what I mean by looping. So I'm going to comment this side of my code so it doesn't execute good. Sorry. All right. So let's proceed. Now let's see, for example, I want to do, so I'm going to do something now. There are two types of loop in Python where I'm trying to make it make sense. So there are two types of loop in Python, the for loop and the while loop. So I'm assuming that you have your slide. So you can either be reading the slide alongside with me, or you pay attention. When we're done, you read the slide and better understand it. It's properly explained. I explained everything in detail in the slide. So now, for loop is like a loop that allows you to loop through a list. Like just there's a range specified in that loop. So you loop from beginning to end. It's specified already, right? That's the way for loop works. I'm trying to explain it in layman's understanding. Now, the while loop is the kind of loop that a condition must be met before it either initiates or breaks, right? So I'm going to mention something very important. For loop can be very safe. You can run for loop anyhow in your computer and your program, and it's all good. But it's very important to run while loop with a condition, because you might run a while loop and it shuts down your computers. In fact, there was a time when the earliest form of viruses were written with while loop. There's something called infinite loop. So you open your program and you see that your notepad begins to open consistently. It opens until your system crashes, or you open your computer and a program is running consistently. Your task manager keeps running, and then your system shuts down. So that's what while loop can do. So I can decide to perform an arithmetic operation and loop through like maybe create a timer and create a while loop for it. If I don't break that loop, it continues to generate bits of data in my computer until my computer crashes and shuts down. So that's the difference between for loop and while loop. For loop is just looping through a list. The moment your data comes to an end, your list comes to an end, the loop breaks. The moment the thing you're looping through comes to an end, the loop breaks. But that's not the case with while loop. While loop, you must set a condition for it. If that condition is not set, it continues to loop until your computer shuts down or whatever it is, or whatever it happens, right? So that's the difference. So I'm going to demonstrate a bit of for loop and a bit of while loop, right? Then I'll now show us a demonstration that combines both the for loop and the while loop. So now let's start. So let's say we want to perform a loop, right? Okay, there's an example in my slide. Let me open it here. If you have the slide, okay, good. So there's an example in my slide, right? That shows the syntax for the for loop. So let's say I want to loop through this. Let me open my code. Good. Now I've created a variable called fruits, right? A list called fruits. Like I said, you loop through a list basically, or you can loop through a string. Now let's say apple, banana, cherry, and date fruits, right? Now that's my list. Now in looping, you're going to create the syntax is for. Now this for tells Python that, oh, it's a for loop. Now I can decide to use any generic name to show my loop. I can decide to use for names in fruits. Now this fruits is my list, right? I can now say print names. Good. So if I run this code, it prints everything in my loop, in my list rather. So it loops through the list, it checks, oh, there's apple, there's banana, there's cherry, and there's date fruit, and then it prints it. That's the way loop works. I can decide to do this also. I can decide to say, let me comment this out and show you a bit of a demonstration. All right. Okay, good. Now I can try to say my name, right, is Victor, right? Good. Sorry, me, Victor. Good. And then I'm going to say for say I in my name. So I'm going to print I. Good. So if I run this program, it loops through that string. So you can loop through a list, you can loop through a string. So it loops through that string, Victor, and prints every individual character in it. Right? So I know by now you might be confused why I'm having the I and why I'm having the names there in the first program I wrote. Please, if anybody is confused about it, just let me know so that I will know. If you're confused about it, just let me know. Or if you know why we have that I or why we have that names there. Okay. I don't think anybody knows that. So now the reason for that is this. So you've created a variable called fruits or my names, as the case may be, and then it's here. But you want to loop through it, but you need a factor. You need something that would help you loop through it. You need a factor that would help you loop through it and know what is it. Now that factor is what we choose here for names or for I. So I in this case is my factor. You can use anything. There's no strict rule that says you have to use I or you have to use names. You can just use any arbitrary character that comes or text that comes to your mind. That becomes your factor. So use that factor for I in my name. So this factor goes to this variable or this list, my name, and prints every character found in my name. But now this I becomes that factor that carries all those characters. That's how the for loop works. That's how the for loop works. Right? That's everything about the for loops. there might be a bit of some advanced features, but we're not going to do that now. Like I said, videos that explains most of this would be posted in the group chats, in the YouTube channel. Okay. All right. So that's the for loop. We are going to talk about the while loop and then take questions and call it a day. Now, the while loop is the kind of loop where you set a condition, right? Where you set a condition, the condition has to be met. So let's do a bit of a demonstration. So let's say you want to look through a character, right? And you want to see if the person guessed, say, maybe your password correctly or something. Now, we can create a, let's say our password is, let's say, string password 234, right? Okay. Then, now we need the person to guess, right? So let's say, let's guess, let's just make it an empty string for this one, right? And then we can now create a loop for it, right? So now we can now say that while guess is not equal to password, right? Then we're now going to tell the person to guess will now be equals to input, then tell them to enter the password, right? So enter your password. Right, so we have this. Okay, now we're now going to say print, let's say access granted. Okay, now so we have this program. Let's okay. So let's run this. Now we're going to tell the person to enter the password. Let's say I do PASS. It says access granted, right? Because it says while guess is not equal to password. Now, this, if anybody puts this password 234, anything beyond, anything that is not this would give the person access. So if I decide to do let's say so 2, 3, okay. Right. Now, did we notice anything here? Now the program only ended when we put the correct password. So if I run this program and then I enter the and this say pass, it requests pass it doesn't give me access. It requests me to put in the password. I say password. It still doesn't work. Just forget about the access granted. It's just a generic way of just maybe adding something there. I can use an if statement for this, sure. But then until I put the correct password 234 that I have actually given granted access, and then the program closes. So that's how while loop works. It only works with a condition. Now that condition is usually here, this condition, these operators, either equal to, greater than, not equal to, less than or equal to, greater than or equal to, or those are the conditions that are set for the while loop. So that's basically what it is about the for loop and the while loop. They are very simple things. These are actually simple things. They become more complex if you're applying them in, say, bigger projects, but they are actually not having bigger projects. They are just more they require more, a bit of articulation. But without this basic understanding, it becomes very difficult to make sense of them when you're working on bigger projects, right? So, like I said, I'm going to do the last demonstration that shows where we combine using the list and the while loop and the for loop. So now this is our last demonstration. After this demonstration, you're going to ask your questions and then we can call it a night or we can call it a day. So now the problem statement is this. You are hosting a party, right? And you want to automate how guests come to your party, the number of guests that come to your party, you want to automate it, right? You don't want to use paper and pen to write it. Now, you want to write a program that helps to automate it, to know the number of guests that comes and gives you that list, right? List of guests that come to your party. Now, remember, you're looking at three things. You want people to put in their names. You want to see that list printed out. So it means that if your guests are 20, your program has to loop through that 20 list and print the results for you. So looping has to be there. So now that's our problem. That's our problem statement. We want to solve that problem. So I'm going to write this program with Sublime Text in this case. I'm going to Sublime Text here so that it's going to be zoomed out enough for us to see. So I'm going to delete this. Good. So now let's say we want to know the number of guests that attended our party. I want to see those lists. So I'm going to say, first of all, I'll create an empty list. When I talked about lists, I said you can create an empty list. So in my empty list, I've created a list called guests, right? Remember to always use square brackets. So I've created an empty list. That's the first thing I did. Good. But then we need the names of the guests in that list. So we need their names. So I'm going to create a variable called names. Names, right? Now remember, we're not sure. We want them to put their names themselves. So you don't know anybody coming for your party. You just know that guests are going to be coming, but you don't know their names. So we're going to leave that variable open, right? That's the first thing we do. Let me even space this in out so that we can see it clearly. Good. So that's the first thing we do. Now the next thing is for us to specify the condition. So they'll be putting in their names. We don't know how many they are, so it means it's an infinite loop. We're not sure. So we have to set a condition. That's where while loop comes in. So we're going to create a while loop for it. We're going to say while the names is until they type something like let's say last name, right? Last name, good, right? Then we can now see now though the name that they will be putting should be, let's see, the names that will be giving us should be, we are requesting an input from you, so they'll be entering their names, right? So I'll say enter your names. Okay, enter the names of the guests, right? Now remember to always tell them that enter last name if there is no more guest. All right, okay, good. So that's what we've done. Okay, good. Now the next thing is for us to now remember I said in list there's something called append. There's a method called append. What append does is it adds new entries to the last space in the list. So I'm going to now I remember the name of my list is called guest. So I'll say guest dot append. Now what am I appending? I'm appending names. I'm adding names to that list. So I'll say names, right? Now that's what I've done. Good. Now the next thing I'm going to do, which is I'm almost done here. So I'm going to now say I should sort it by alphabetical order. So guess remember there's a method I mentioned called sorts. Dot sorts. There is a document I sent on the Google Classroom that has a list of all Python keywords and a list of all Python methods or list methods. You can read them and memorize them if you have to. Now, we've done this. But then we want to print the list, names of guests that enters that came to our party at the end of the day. In order to do that, we need to look through that list that was created with our while loop. Now, in order to loop through a list, I said for loop is used to loop through it. So we're going to create a for loop that helps us to loop through that list and print the result. So I'm going to say for, you can use any generic name, say for guests, this time not guests as in plural, for guests in the list guests, right? Which we can now print, sorry, we can now print guest. Good. Now this is our program. So I'm going to save this and open my command prompt and run this program. Now in this program it says enter the names of the guests. Now the first name here is John. The second name is Sam. The third name is Ahmed. The fourth one is Bola. Let's make it 6 names. The fifth one is Susan. And then the sixth one is Chris. Good. Now there's no other person we want to add to the list. Yes, they've all joined the party. So in order for us to break this loop, now remember it's a while loop. It continues to run until your system memory gets filled up. So we don't want this thing to continue. So we're going to now use something called, we're going to type last name. Now if I type last name, the program breaks and then it prints all the name. So this is the name, these are the names of so in fact I can even change this program, right? Let me tweak it a bit to make it more interesting. I'm going to come here and I'll say names. Okay, all right, names are of guests. All right, so let me do this. Let me save it and then let me rerun this program, right? Good. Now when I run this program, I start, let me say I have Chris, I have Adam, I have Obi, I have Abdul, I have Susan, and then I have Sam. Now I'm done with the list. So I'm going to now put the last one. So I'm now going to say names of guests. Hold on, sorry. I think I've misspelled this. Names of guests. I did not spell it properly. Names, right. Names of guests. Good. So now it prints names of guests and then the names of guests I have Abdul, Adam, Chris, Obi, Susan in alphabetical order. Remember, I didn't enter the names in alphabetical order. It started from Chris, but in this case, it started from Abdul, Adam. So that's what, if you look at our code, that's basically what we've done here. We've looked at lists, we've looked at variable declaration in line 6, we've looked at while loop in line 5, we've looked at the for loop in line 11, the print statement in line 12, the Python method sort in line 9, Python method append in line 7, and variable declaration in line 3, all in one. And we've solved a particular problem. This helps by the time you make this project a GUI, an actual application or a web app or mobile app, it becomes, even if it's not going to be a professional program, but it becomes handy. Somebody can just take an app and put in names, and when they are done, he prints it and maybe sends it to a database or something. I mean, by the time we move further, we'll get to that point anyway. So that's basically what we can do with lists and loops and all that. So that's what we have for today, and I'm sure we understood. If you don't understand, or if you didn't understand, please ask your questions. And thank you. Any question? No question. Okay. Like I said, I would send the code for this class to the Google Classroom. You can always access the code and edit it, master it, memorize it if you want. Yeah. So if and also remember, please, to send us a feedback. Your feedback is important. If an instructor is not doing very well, please, you have every right. We are here for you. So you have every right to tell us. So you can do that on the WhatsApp group. If there's an issue, you can do that on the WhatsApp group. You can send your comments on the Google Classroom if you can. Even on the general, wherever platform you are, provided it's supporting on the foundation, please, sorry about that, send in your feedback and we'll see how to serve you better. Lastly, please don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel. It's here. Go to YouTube and search Bodilon Omije Foundation. Let me open it. Yeah, and hit the subscribe button. Like I said, we're coming up with a new project where short video clips will be uploaded to the YouTube channel. Now, these clips would better explain most of the things we're talking about, right? And thank you very much and have a wonderful evening. So I'm going to um, drop the video on YouTube. The video will be uploaded by tomorrow on the YouTube channel. Please, if you're confused or you have questions, or you can always go back and rewatch all we've said. Thank you very much.